Muted. We'll see. Steve?
It starts the same way every time. A messy whiteboard and a simple question. What can we build with fabric?
Come on, internet. Oh, that's all right. It's got a line on. I'll be skipping into this battle with streaks.
I've seen the same issue with other MP4s on GitHub.
See, it plays pretty well all the time. It's just this internet I'm struggling tonight. Cover button. All right. Well, let me see if I can't get it one more way here. Load and repo too. Time. It is very important to see. Trust me, it's not just Alex having fun here. Let's do an MP4. First one, you can upload it out.
It starts the same way every time. A messy whiteboard and a simple question. What can we build with fabric? But what if you didn't need to know fabric? Just what your business needs to solve. What if, after a few prompts, the whole solution was mapped, items deployed, and everyone could see how the pieces connect? So you can start building and stop guessing. With the Fabric Task Flows Assistant, you describe the problem, and the Fabric Advisor walks you from discovery to design to a CI/CD ready deployment in a matter of minutes. Less guessing, more building. Explore it at github.com.
Right. Good luck to the next presenter trying to top that movie trail. See my friend. Well, busy. We've all been busy. I'll kind of ground us here on some of the things we saw in the video. First was just, here's a business problem statement. I didn't use words like lakehouse or medallion, or I didn't say database, or I didn't say dependency, or all this other crazy stuff that all the data and technical professionals say. I started with, here's my business problem. We're in these departments, we've got a lot of data spread all over. We really just want to kind of get our arms around all this. Those who've been through this a little bit. I don't think technology is really that interesting. I think that business problems are interesting. Those are the things that technology helps solve. So as I think about this table that we're all sitting at right now, I'm like, what are you working on? What are you trying to solve? Well, we're a part of this industry. We've got, a lot of people out in the field. They've got pen and paper. It's pretty antiquated. We'd like to be faster. Awesome. Like, I'm already putting architecture together in my mind, right? Like, these are just branches. How can I go from a conversation sitting here with you to a full architecture deploy through just a 5, 10, 15 minutes of discovery? That's pretty interesting. It's a lot more interesting than, all right, well, let me take the notes from our meeting. Let me go back to my desk and let me see if I remember those things that you said. And then I'll get back to you if I like Friday because I've got a busy calendar. People are like, no, that's not as much fun, right? So speaking in this example, I thought, how could I take the problem statement of fabric is hard because there's a lot of pieces, and I'm going to just say, I'm going to install. From that, I built the task flows assistant. At Microsoft, we no longer say wizard, we say assistant. So it's an assistant, not a wizard. More specifically, though, I'm using Copilot here. So if you're not familiar with this, if you've not tried it before, obviously just go out to kind of in this example, you see a live, but you can do it in VS Code, you can do it in other applications. And it's just as simple as going to a file directory, typing Copilot, you're launching right in. So never tried this before, I've never done this before. It's pretty cool. I ended up running, I'm a kid of the 80s and 90s, so terminals are not that scary to me. It feels like being back home, but I'm also running 4 or 5 different problems at once. Kind of given a day here, just with little things throughout. Very beginning here, I'm going to start with a problem statement though. You get plugged in code like.
Yeah, did Oracle trademark the word wizard?
I don't know, did they? Is that why everyone's going to assistant?
I thought maybe there was a lawsuit.
Oh man, well, I hope not. I like wizards. Put a lot of jobs here though. So in this example, I'm in a just terminal. I've got different agents that are available. And the only agent that I really care about here is this one that's project-based, which is my Fabric Advisor. So this advisor takes my problem statement and it starts running through an entire pipeline. So who here is working on an interesting business case right now? Be willing to share. You can make it fictitious, you can make it real, you can do anything. Go ahead.
I'm in payroll, so I'm a payroll supervisor. And so one of the main projects I'm working on is changing the way we process per diem payments. Current process is you send in per diem requests to emails. So with the help of AI, I've actually been working on an app to replace that process. And so kind of toward the tail end of that now.
Yeah.
We're just making sure the security measures are in place.
So let me ask about some of the kind of AI applications. Are you storing the data or is it just kind of processing?
Yes, so right now we're using Superbase. So we use Postgres database, but I've been talking with my IT team. They kind of prefer to store it locally, company servers. So that's still kind of decision that we finalize.
So analytics, are you doing anything there? Are you visualizing the data? Are you?
There is just some built-in reporting into the app itself. It's just kind of basic reports, how much per diem has this employee had? What's the highest job with the highest per diem amounts? It's kind of basic reports. So far, I haven't seen a need to go too far deep in it because for me, I'm always trying to vision like, okay, who's that?
Oh, sure. Who's on the other side?
And what are they going to want from that?
Are the execs beating on your door at all for chatbots, conversational? Do they want to talk to the information or stuff like that?
Yeah, so the main thing here is that for one, the workflow there's an approval step. And so this will have that. And then also we have like what's called a master, it's like a cell file that has all employees that constantly has to get updated. But then sometimes people send in requests using old files. And so this will kind of solve all of that because everything can be updated in payroll from the app. Awesome. So it's really meant to solve some really like core functional problems with the current process.
My gosh, Excel is adapters.
Yeah.
Well, that's quite the problem. I will be very curious where this thing goes, but hey, that's what the fun part is. I'm going to hit enter. So within this, especially when we get into like the actual talking here, kind of fun little things. Before I was coming here, I was supposed to have a mark. So if you've never heard of that, it's Markdown as a presentation. You can just take your project and turn it into a PowerPoint deck. Unfortunately, corporate banned extensions. So I just said, hey, I'm sitting here with this user group and I need a quick story to tell. So yeah, I built it. So this is a PowerPoint deck that I've never seen before. I will be confidently wrong or confidently confident by the end of this. So really when I think about this, it's problem to production. Sat here, what are you working on? Here's some follow-up questions. Now, as a technical professional, I got a few things that I want to extract out, especially in the moment. Through this, it's going to go through and it'll start asking the deterministic phase. So a lot of people are like, AI, it's untrustworthy, you know, it doesn't do this thing. I think the strawberry test is the fun one. How many R's in strawberry? And there's 4. It's like, all right, what are you talking about, you liar? Code is deterministic. Code is amazing. You can build a system that generates code and that can get you through that pipeline. That's where things are really kind of great here. What is 1 + 1 in a function?
2 or 0.
There you go. I love that. So it'll always be 2 or 0, according to Larry. A robot, though, an LLM, tomorrow it could be 3. Right? So that, no, we changed this legislation. 1 + 1 is now 3. It's you're right. I always like saying you're right and agreeing with you. I don't know why.
I think 11 is more likely than 3.
I know, right? 1 + 1, maybe it could be a concatenation if it's thinking that it's sets.
Depends how you work 1 + 1 physical quotes without quotes.
I know. Now we're really testing the system here.
It's 1.3 plus 1.3, then it is 3, so.
Awesome. So it's kind of recognized here, at least in our current phase. What would we like to name this project? Per Diem Hub, Daily Rate Central, Travel Team Manager. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, I just simply call per diem app.
Per Diem app.
Yeah.
All right, let's do Per Diem app. Sometimes give some good product. I don't mind it. All right, so it's going through. It's going to go through some signal mapping here as well, where it's looking at different storage options. It's going to start mapping some things out just through inference and maybe asking us some additional questions. Getting back into the actual project though. So when we talk about all these different systems, close out of this, close out of this. We're talking about agents and we're talking about skills. In this project in particular, I just have one agent. This is my Fabric advisor that we saw. We had asked that question earlier. Here's the business problem statements. And then from this, I'm really into this process that's mission control. So if you ever see that term online, it's just a routing system where it can communicate back up to a central location. So think like a NASA project, right? Through this pipeline, I have a skill. So I've got this run pipeline in advance. Once it's done with a particular phase, so I'm thinking about a manufacturing line, right? I'm thinking about an assembly. It's this thing, it's that thing, it's this thing to get me to the very end, complete a picture. So it's going to start calling off to different skills. It's like my Fabric Discover, my design, which is now going in. It's going to start designing that architectural solution for us. Test plan, just to make sure that what they're designing is actually testable. Like, is this feasible, or are you just like coming up with things out of thin air? And then I'm going to get to us at the human gate here. So this is you and me going through that sign off, back and forth. It's not quite what I was saying. It's not quite what I was thinking. So let's go and take a look here. Still running through some things. Awesome. And then I also have things like hooks. So if the LLM is trying to execute a process or do something against a raw file, I'm saying, no, you're explicitly denied. You have to use the tools. I'm not letting you go off the rails here. Let's go through. We see our Per Diem app. Our project is now being scaffolded over here on the left-hand side. To hear these words like deterministic scaffold, we weren't using these 6 months ago, but now you hear them everywhere you go in data project. So that pipeline we were just talking about, that deterministic script runner, right? Where I say at this phase, you need to have a status. You cannot move on to the next status until this has been completed. So think like a loop, right? I'm just looping over this file again and again, just to make sure that it's staying within the process. As it moves through our discovery brief, it will move from the in progress to completed. And then we'll move on to the next one, the next one, the next one. This is how I'm able to control the system through code, through scripts. And when I think about not only the agents, but the skills themselves, I think about what they need. They need scripts, they need tools. So in this example, I have all the different skills that we just talked about. And then I think about them as an employee. So if I were to sit down with my employee, what would I give them on their first day? Here's your laptop, here's your pen, here's your notepad. Here are all the tools that you need to get your job done effectively. So maybe it's scripts, maybe it's reference files. So if I was looking at like documentation, here's our documentation standard. Here's a template for you to fill out every time, exactly how. So it's you defining the standards that you want to have it be produced. Pause here. Any questions with respect to maybe an agent or skills?
So you're numbering that's to signify the human handoff. So it goes from 0 to 1 after you put in the input for the name.
Yeah, so it likely here, let's see where it's at. You mentioned, oh man, it's going on wild tangent. We should expect to see some questions coming back. So part of my system here, let me go through the code here so I can talk through it as well, is in the design phase. Conceptual design is preview mode. Something you read. Ability driven constraints. For design. One thing I want to show here, which is human gate sign off. This is where I'm just passing it back and saying, based on what we built, here's what I'm going to display from like a visual standard. The part I'm really looking for though is likely in design. I just don't see it here real quick. 4 Bs. Yeah. Discovery brief, projects. That's per team. Haven't had anything done yet. Discovery brief, yeah, still waiting to leave that one. There we go. All right. LLMs is taking a long time here that we're getting at. Roughly how much per DM data are we talking about? For example, is this request per week, month? How many employees are submitting? Small, medium, large?
It would be per week, I say around 30, 40 employees. No. Let's say per week around 25 employees, because it really just varies from week to week depending on the jobs and.
Do you think that's thousands of requests per month or just hundreds?
Hundreds.
Hundreds? Awesome. So we'll go with medium then. Hundreds of requests. Gosh, man, how have you even thought about that question?
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know. They're getting over there for DMs. I just take the paycheck in the bank.
Yeah.
Someone makes it work.
We got my last time if I knew it. Get some more specific answer.
So the 4 V's for me is defined as volume, velocity, versatility. What's the other one here? Variety. What's the variety of sources? So that's the questions that we would have kind of filled out here with a lot. How quickly do per diem submissions need to flow through the approval process? Is that kind of more of a batch, daily, weekly? Are you trying to do more real time? That's kind of once a day, or are you trying to get like instant real time?
It's not instant. I mean, it takes time to process. And so like the specialist who does that, she monitors it all day, but they come in any point in a day and generally the idea is that, they receive the funds the next business day, but it just really depends on the details of requests. Sometimes requests are for a job that starts next week.
Yep.
So it just depends, but as far as being processed, that's, daily.
Cool.
And then there's a cutoff that, after this time, no more requests, won't guarantee requests be processed, within the time.
Fast daily, there is a cutoff. Is there an exception to that?
Oh, yeah.
But with exceptions. So the ability to target files as needed on the awesome.
Yeah, we get a lot of emergency jobs that we don't really have a choice but to have exceptions.
Oh my gosh. Who will maintain this system going forward? Is this like low code people? Or do you have kind of professional developers on team on site or like more custom code?
Yes, this is a good question and part of what I'm working through at the end phase of it, because I am not a developer. I don't come from a developer background, and then our company, they don't have any system in place for this. It's kind of like new ground for them, and so we're trying to figure this all out with both our on-site IT team, and we also have an IT consulting company that we work with as well. And so, but the general idea is that we want both the code and also future development to live just outside of me.
Yeah.
So trying to set that infrastructure in place.
Code, visibility, direction. Are you open to AI and the solution developments for some of the low code people who may not have the skill set, but they're like, I know how to solve the problem. I just.
Yeah.
Awesome. Open to AI development. That's more of just like, I want to sort of mix
Yeah,
that.
because even if you got like a real developer, they'll most likely be using AI anyway.
Well, but the low code people are the ones where I'm like, yeah, get in their hands. If they sit next to the business, they know the problem better than we do. It's fun.
Whenever you give it a custom answer and over a period of time, it finds out there's a pattern that's not in one of the three choices. Does it add that pattern as another choice?
It doesn't, but let's talk about that when we kind of get through a couple of these points here. And I'll talk about why.
Okay.
All right.
So it skipped asking about variety.
I noticed that it seemed like it had enough context for super base Excel files and some of the emails.
So with your first submission, you might give it enough work. In theory, it could skip all four of these.
Absolutely. If you provided a rich, verbose bit of detailed information. But if you and me are just like, well, here's a little bit, and then it's kind of like all questions, right? Because that's what the real world is like. Oh, I kind of thought about that dimension. I just thought about that.
Does it do follow-up questions? Like if you weren't specific enough in your volume, would it ask me this follow-up?
It absolutely could. So especially because it's more like choice-based and we have the optional kind of other field, we could type in, you know, I like dogs and cats. And then you're like, what are you talking about? Like, get back on point here. But because we checked the box on a few of those, it's like, all right, I want to kind of go with this. All right, so let's take a look here. We recorded our problem statements, replacing email-based per diem payment process, centralized application. We kind of talk about soup-based Postgres, you know, IT, just some local storage, security, built-in reporting, basic reports, kind of deal with automation, workflow, conversational bots, stuff care. I replaced the master Excel file that gets many revisions to the central system. So we look at volume, we talk about the medium, hundreds of requests a month, kind of dozens of employees that we're kind of dealing across, batch, kind of a nightly job that we're really kind of focused on. There are exceptions, we just want to have that kind of considered as well. Mix of low code for internal team, contract for devs, but we are open to some AI system development kind of in the future. So what inferred signals is a batch schedule, kind of basic analytics reporting, kind of low confidence there. Two different tasks will be considered. Just kind of more of a basic data analytics architecture. We could do a medallion if we really wanted to, but it feels like that might be overkill, just based on the project.
Yeah, because in this all goes back to like the security, the more like reports and data you access, it's like just more like security, like some related. So I generally learning to just provide as little as necessary to do what I need to get done.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's not always the thought process.
Oh, I know.
Because like I'm not trying to this particular project, I'm not trying to sell it, you know, I'm just solving an issue, a certain problem in our company.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to do the less as possible. It's just kind of like intuitively been thinking that way, just because I know it's for multiple reasons. I want to be easy to use,
For sure.
and also alleviate some of the security, you know, threats as well.
And that kind of goes back to like one of the questions here on versatility. I know people are always like, why do you have that? It's like, if you have a person who's like, well, my skill set is Excel and I use these things, I don't want to be like, well, here's PySpark and here's Python, here's all this other stuff. It's like, don't worry about that. Align skill sets, align simplicity of architecture. It's gone there.
Yeah, so what alternative to medallion architecture would you recommend?
Oh my gosh, I love this. So let's kind of go back here. And this will get into more of the original design stuff. Last few things, diagrams. Cool. So Larry is kind of asking about like, what's the backbone of the system? A lot of these are, I'll just like very frank about how the project started. In Microsoft Fabric, there's a flyout pane. It's got a photo, and the photo has all the different items that are part of that. Some of those examples, it's like, oh, here's a medallion, here's a lambda, here's an event analytics, here's a medallion. It has all these loaded in here as like predefined templates. Then trying to find, based on your solution, which one most closely aligns. So in this example, like, because he's not doing anything real time, that kind of eliminates all the different real time. It's like a lambda, he doesn't need a hot path and a cold path. That's out. Does he need machine learning models? No, he doesn't need that either. Does he need an application? I'd be like, he might need an application. I'm surprised they didn't bring that up because that would have attacked when he said Superbase. And I had a database and people need to write stuff like, we need a database. We need a SQL database. They're amazing. Some of these, again, sensitive data insights. This one could be more interesting, especially for when we talk about security. Like, what does that mean? What does that project look like? And then this goes through like the different project possibilities here at the different stages. So when we can talk about storage, low code, ability to use here in terms of like lakehouse or warehouse, throw stuff in, make sense of it. Then we get up in the compute environments, kind of talk about PySpark, secure ingestion, just through a firewall, through networking, use kind of some of the data integration products. Again, all this is just predefined. I'd probably say like 99% of products probably fit into a template fairly easily. It's going to be like the 1% who are like, here's the wild thing that we just imagined. It's, all right.
Yeah, I haven't done anything other than medallion, so you'll share.
There's data vault architecture.
Oh, data vault.
Yeah. Databricks as well. That's how satellites link tables.
Is that more of like, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So in this example, for him especially, you'd be like, this is a basic data analytics. We're not over architecting. Here's a warehouse compute engine that we can store and query data. How we choose to go about getting it in could be many different options. It could be as simple as a copy job, which is just point and clicks. Data flows, which is very familiar with Excel people, or if they wanted a little bit more robustness, we have a low code or code first option, LCCF. This gets back into Morale's question, which I'm going to come back to. So because we talked about, he was very excited. He's like, well, what about this? What about that? And I go, no. Told you I like deterministic structure. So everything here in this document is just a JSON, which is great for scripts. Python script can read through this, right? It has properties it can go after. It can pull the thing back. So in this example, I just have all these different properties. Like here's the human readable name. Here's a phase of deployment. So I need to start building a cape, right? I need storage first. I need ingestion like this. So I'm building things up. So as I go through this process, let's do a lakehouse. Lakehouse is a generally available project. It's not public preview. It is a foundation. Skill sets that can handle this is both in low code or code first. Great languages that are supported within the lakehouse. Spark, Python, R, Scala, SQL read only for the endpoint. Alternative considerations, whereas that not SQL database does have an API path and also has CI/CD support. Cool. Warehouse, GA. I have a low code skill set, which I still kind of laugh at that one. SQL is the brain language though, right? Alternatives, Lakehouse, Event House, SQL database, API supported, CI/CD supported. Cool. Event House, KQL database, SQL database. All these are rules. Makes sense. I don't find that this is interesting. Like running out to a doc page and be like, is it GA or is it public preview? That should be a one-time exercise and activity that my system can now use. Mm-hmm. And then as I think about this project for the community, I'm always thinking like, if I get contributions, because something got released last week, someone makes an update and say, cool, this is the backbone for all our projects. And we want to start using this item registry because it has all this rich metadata. Mm-hmm. So that's how I'm kind of thinking about this, especially from the system standpoint.
It's always one domain tags.
Which one?
Domain tags.
Domain tags? We want to do with domain tags.
So like any project, anybody who's sponsoring it, they want it to be like finance, supply chain. packed right into the project.
So, I like that. All right, well, we'll come back to that idea, especially with tags. So again, a lot of these are just rule driven based on the docs. I don't want my LLM to go out and have to read web pages over and over again. That should be a one-time exercise stored here. And my system can then run scripts. If it's like, oh, I'm looking for an API path, cool, it's going to go hit up the API property. It's going to say, all right, if we're doing a mirror database, here's how you can do it. Here's the definition files. It does support CI/CD, true or false. So it's just a really fun way to kind of think about as you're building out your system, how do I get scripts? And then how do I get something that could read through? In a perfect world, this would be a table in a database. Just like we've always done with different projects, it'd be a config.
Right.
And then that's how we just drive our projects. Let me pause here because I'm doing a lot of weird stuff. Does some of this make sense?
Yeah.
Moving things out of LLM guessing into more of a system that we're kind of building up. Awesome. So let's go here. So we saw this, let teams describe the problem before they learn the platform. Again, I don't think that you should spend 3 months learning how to read a doc about how to use Fabric. You know your business. At the very end here, it should say, here's what you should go build. For this one, I'm going to go and say, if it looks good, give me a little human gate there, and we'll kind of let it progress here with the system.
If you tell it to restart, is it gonna save what you've put in before, or is it gonna start blank slate?
I gave it 3 restarts, so if I was wildly off, go at that point, it would just exit and say, hey, I couldn't just start again, because I think we got to the point.
So it saves it and reiterates, but then if you're still not good after 3 restarts, it's gonna say, let's start.
Yeah, let's start with that. Yeah, because I just
I like that.
I'm sure I could just have it continue with brute force, but I'm also not a huge fan of like context rot. Some people are like, here's my markdown file and it's like 1,200 lines long. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's contradictions, that's confusion, that's verbose in some ways. Like, let's keep things kind of thin here. And that's why I like kind of the registry here as well. So now it just passed off to our Fabric design. So we went from our discovery, right, our discovery phase into, all right, here's everything that we said we want to go ahead and build. Let's hand it off to our architect now, and then they're going to start saying, all right, here's all the pieces we should go and select based on the low code CF or kind of the different attributes. If I was to be like, I can only use general availability products, what would it do? It would look at that availability and say, only give me GS. I don't choice, keep getting slimmer, right? So that way the LLM be like, I want it to have very narrow areas because that's what it's good at, right? It's like finding the gray spaces and like getting you through that. Everything else is rule based. Like for me, this is a creation engine more than anything. Let it keep going here, and then we'll see for DMAP. Cool. Discovery brief. So as we're going through this project now, you and me are done. I've sat down with you and I said, hi, this has been a great meeting. Here's our project brief that we just went ahead and wrote up. Like, yeah, this looks great. I can put this documentation in front of my, in front of my manager who's cut the check. Whoever it is giving a sign off. They're like, this looks amazing. How long did this take? And I call you, take a couple of days, right? Architectural judgment calls that we're going to come back to this, as Jason kind of said, like, hey, if some of these decisions were right, we really come back and look at the memory here of the project. Problem statement confirmed, 4Bs confirmed, discovery summary reviewed and approved process. Amazing. So take a look at this architecture handoff. So the architectural handoff, it says the item types we should build, warehouse, copy job data flow, data pipeline, scanning model, kind of choices, deployment order. Awesome. Acceptance criteria. Cool, it's going through a unit testing now to just be like, hey, is this actually feasible? Can we deploy this through code? Yep, able to verify, it does support REST APIs. So then if there was anything where it's like, hey, that's only point you click, it would tell us pretty quickly, like, hey, you need to go do this by yourself. Benefit versus cost, especially here, if we're to go with why warehouse is chosen, we'll lay best benefit for project signal, which is more of a batch velocity structured data. It's not unstructured, but it's very, it could be. But the emails, we could have asked that as a human follow-up question, like, hey, I know those emails. Are those a common template or is that just free form? Is that wild? What people are sending?
It's a template. What varies is like what people will call like the subject email. So like some people say per diem, some people say subpay.
Yeah.
So you got that to varies, but the template everybody uses the same. Excel templates, just that, like I said earlier. You can use it out of the own template. And so this is, but
So I'm thinking here too, right? Like, we should land that first. And like do some like get engineering quality checks on that subject lines. Like, can we fix that in code or does that need an LN? Maybe we code.
well, it wouldn't, so with the app, it wouldn't be a thing anymore because they'll be submitting requests through the app. So you
Oh.
completely fill out,
Awesome.
you completely fill out the request on the app and then you submit it. So so that will eliminate that issue.
Oh, awesome. That's amazing. I apologize for not following up.
PC based app and mobile.
It is PC, but I did it mobile friendly. And I used to have it up and running, but, because it was live, but we took it down. But so yes, mobile friendly, so I can show you the icon. It's actually, so this is this one right here. And so like, it's basically, that's just a bookmark.
Right.
But when you're using it, if I log in, it's not live, but when you use it, it feels like a web.
Oh, that's cool.
And so that bypasses the problem getting, Apple and App Store and
Yeah.
all that stuff and updating that. And it's just overkill, kind of, I thought, for what this is trying to be,
Is it an internal app or you?
Yes, just an internal app.
Gotcha. Thursday, I'm doing fabric apps. I haven't thought about mobile yet. Just want this thing to work a little bit, it's getting all word.
Picking the function.
Yeah, for even in fabric apps on Thursday. So wish me luck. The token gods better be my favorite.
I know we're seeing that one.
The St. Louis,
Yeah.
yep. Yeah, that birthday party. I know. I hope everyone sings the song. You told Tasmania the instance of search errors for notebooks, don't find search, we're going to fix it. Awesome. So it's fixing itself. I like this. We need a tester of capturing things. Back to the deck here. The anatomy, one orchestrator, composable skills and handoffs that stay on disk. So in this example, the fabric advisor is doing our routing. It's like we had kind of seen at the very beginning, it's that mission control system where it's just routing it through. And then as it communicates back up and down, saying, hey, I'm now done. I'm gonna run that Python to say advance and the flag it through and say, I'm now done with the stage advance. Nice. Just kind of keeping it on track here. Handoffs, each phase writes docs to the project folder. And then so the chain is inspectable, resumable, and friendly to review. I want to just show a bunch of markdown or a bunch of JSON files. And I'm like, here's a human readable format. We can sit down and read together. So as we talk about the routing, discovery, zoom in here if that helps out a little bit. Why this floating menu? Who designed this? Capture the project name, business problems, 4Bs. Design goes in the project, architecture handoff, design logic in line, not in wavy. Absolutely, we do that. And you're like, the engineers in the back, you're like, no, you can't. You don't have those things. So that's where it kind of keeps us on track. Like, all right, that's actually human testable. Test plans, again, we're just now starting to look through and saying, yeah, actually, that one's wrong. And then we want to go back to our final sign off here as well. Cool. So let's go ahead and get this back up. Here's the architecture I want to kind of build. In this example, I got my per diem. It looks like we're probably going to do a little bit of copy job, pipeline, and also data flow. And I don't know why it's using all three. It's going to say we're just going to load that into a warehouse, and they'll have some variable library. Or just if we kind of like a version control for this way, you can have like a dev environment, the test environment. You're just going to have that going to be one of those items where we can store variables. We're going to have your semantic model. Where we're just going to store, the results and the business logic and the measurements, like we kind of talked about the total per diem at the very end, just a simple report. Cool. So what we're building per diem, be able to do, ready to approve or want to revise anything. This looks good, but I prefer to only use the copy job. I don't need pipelines or focus. Here's our human gate. Sorry, that one did. I got two more to go.
Is it choosing that because there's a mixed bag of approvals and stuff, maybe?
Yeah, for here, especially in this one, it seems like it was just kind of stuck on the Excel files. And a few of the other things were just like, you probably need to mix up all these.
Got it.
It's fun project.
You're saying what data hubs?
I know. I'm denying the robot here. We'll see what it comes back with. Can we go through this? Awesome. So it's working through the projects. It's getting us a bunch of files out here. The one thing that I will want to have though at the very end is I want to have my deployment. You see here.
Very interesting to see what naming conventions they follow while creating the artifacts, because we kind of have, probably organizations have hard and fast rule, but warehouse should end with WH.
Yeah.
Warehouse, LH.
I don't have those hardened rules because they're so different from every organization, but that would be interesting if I just put that in as like a YAML config file where I could say, write your standards here. Let this do its thing. Go back to the PowerPoint.
Because it gets tricky soon because workspace can have 4 things. And you will be, if you're trying to find by ID, the workspace ID is same and then that's.
Well, that's where when this is done, we'll kind of look at what the robot produced. Or I'm like, all right, if we can take this even further, take this even further. All right, so now we're at the sign off phase, right? Pause for explicit review and revision. Jason was like, this thing is going to keep on going forever. That off ramp, it's wrong. All right, said, I'll give you 3. Otherwise, we're going to move on to deployment. So this will generate actual deployment code. This will be scripts that we can go ahead and just start building live. 5 minutes, here's the problem. A couple seconds later, here's deployment. And that's crazy to me. And we'll talk about the things in the middle that I think will be very interesting if we can kind of get a lot of excitement drummed up. Deterministic state, so a run pipeline type file. This is where it's just reading that JSON file, right? It's continuously looping. Am I done with this phase or is it in progress? Am I done with this phase or in progress? So we're going to go back to that original file that we were looking at just a few moments ago. Or per DMS. Complete. Working through the sign-off phase. That's where we're currently stuck in. So let's go back here. All right, here's our revision. Just gonna use Copy Job, Warehouse, Variable Library, Family Report. All right, this looks amazing. Let's go. And hopefully it infers that I mean that yes, I approved. User approved, awesome. They got it. Woohoo, love the energy. Artifact only. Files. All right, generation files. Cool. So just ask me where do I want to target. I just want to have local scripts first. All right, so we should expect to see our pipeline updating as it moves through our process here. Back out. Explicit human gates, grounded sources, or registries and templates, decision guides and rules. So when we talk about some of those different items where it's like, if you're on a lake house, but here's some alternatives. If I was like that low code user and my skill set is only SQL, it's like, well, lake house isn't gonna necessarily be it. Because all you have is read only. Probably is a warehouse. If you're like, I do KQL, that's all I know. That eliminates a lot of things in the KQL database. PySpark, another great one. It's like, you can only do Lakehouse. These are things that technologies we learn over time, but I don't know that that's always important. I think you can learn that with time. I don't think you should be like, well, you got Fabric now spun up and it's going to take you 3 months to go read every doc and hopefully you get it right on the first go. And I just don't think that's as fun. Prompt statements the room can recognize, batching analytics, use the talk show team, periodic ingestion, government modeling, interesting. Makes the pipeline, I don't know what these notes are. These are not for us. That driven conversational.
It's what the AI wants us to talk about.
I know. It's like, Alex, just say these things out loud. But it's like, no. It's like, fun one that I can add, sitting with the customer. We're a utility company. We've got whole processes. We've got people out in the field that make phone calls during outages. We have to record those. All the Power BI users start beating up under capacity because they want data as fresh as possible. It'd be great if we had a live dashboard. It'd be great if we had mobile capabilities. It would be great if our CEO could talk to a robot. What architecture do you just build? all that information.
Cosmos isn't clear.
AGI, oh my God, that's way too much.
Event house in its stream.
Event house event stream. Yeah. So you and me were listening to two different conversations. I was telling you the problem. You're like already mapping it. Isn't that what this thing does?
Yeah.
SOC comes. Again, and those are rule driven. I'm just like, all right, here's the rule, here's the item registry. Kind of work through it. Less guessworking. I really want to get back to these better conversations. We talked a little bit about the problems. Even if I had more time, I would have been like, hey, let's go deeper. Because that we could have made it even more rich, more informative to get to the end goal. And at the very end, it's just reusable. So it could be you and me, kind of your department, or as like a consultancy to a customer. We talked about it at the very end. I'm going to go ahead and zip this project up. So I'm going to say, here's your project. I'm going to right click and hit zip. I'm going to email it to you and say, deploy in your environment. Let's start building it right now. You're like, wait a second. I wasn't ready to start building yet. And I said, but we can go now. And I'm like, oh, all right. Because in your mind, you're like, this is going to be a multi-month long project. We need to get all these people in a room. Everything, here's the document. Here's the trade-offs. Here's why we made these choices. Here's where we're going to start putting these things. So in this example, I have the deployment script. So at the very end, that config file. So this is using Fabric CI/CD and its standards. So what I really love about this is it's already been defined, and I'm just tapping into it. So once we run the deployment script, it's going to read through the YAML file. It's going to deploy all these different items for us. And that's amazing.
We see the dev workspace getting created instead.
Yeah. So if I want to do a three-stage, we'll kind of have that here in the PyScript as well. So like, hey, do you want to do a single workspace, or do you want to do three? And I just set up all the CI/CD for you right now, right? All right, this is mind blowing. You're doing multi-environment too. When this comes back to your point, which is naming standards, I could have that be just something out here in the kind of shared kind of library of like, hey, you want to define your naming standards. And then the system will just read through that because that's defined, it's a script. It's not an LLM having to guess, and just prefix or suffix that, however you prefer. I like that. I like that. All right, so here's our scripts. We're going to go and run this. Copy this path. Oh, thank you so much, Robot. You did a great job. Go ahead. Yes, install now. Let's go ahead. Update run. Oh my gosh, what does it want me to do? The fun of what finger. What doesn't work next time. Let's go ahead and run. I'll deploy. You'll do it for us on that? Yes. Come on. Not used this before. Just an awesome package, kind of built by Microsoft. It's kind of an open source, and then because it became so popular, kind of got turned into an officially supported. Versions. See, the only reasonable thing we can't do, which is just tell Copilot to go fix it for us. I'm busy. Go fix this Python here. Tell me about Python.
That right there. Never even.
Seeing your errors?
Yeah, having, I'm busy.
Oh, I mean, I've had a few Windows moments where it's just like, what are you doing? And that's when it clicked for me is like, if the AI could live like next to the OS in terms of like, your weird things going off your system. If you found an Alienware like old install something, it's like, hey, this thing's got like a 4 GB memory leak. There's a GitHub open source package that people created. It's like 40 megs. And I'm like, yeah, like let's uninstall this and go for this other thing. And then it found like a weird thing with like one like where it's like, hey, your file is like sinking to say you have like 14 gigabytes of RAM. I'm like, what do you mean? I was like, that's way too much. So it kind of went through and it was able to kind of fix a few of those things for me too. Let's do this. It's pretty cool fix. I didn't think I don't know you covered install that. Oh, interesting. Just fixing that. Cool. All right. Let's kind of patch this deploy script. Let's see if this works. Let's create the Python environment. That's too fast. For repo, it's going to keep working on this real fast for us. All right, let's do this. Transition about trust turns through structure, how to land it. Why does it give me notes? It's by restating the 2 human control moments. Because you typed in the problem statement, because you have to say yes or no. I don't think that, again, that these are as important. Part for me is the squishy gray space of asking the question, this is a problem. And then it's just a creation or rule engine. The word that you can think about your systems from that perspective uses proceed immediately. Let's try this. Let's do this. It's needing to release. I just need to deploy it on here for us. So we provide it on. These worst of getting something code. What's wrong with this? There it goes. Oh, we're done. Okay. It's one screen. CLS. Right? Look up in there. More. Don't work, then I'll just do it. Flash. Great 3 years. I'll talk through deployment here. We'll just go through the YAML file. It'll start deploying everything up in the service. So it's going to reference the YAML file. It's going to call the APIs. It'll start doing its deployment. If I was to go check, see here, if I get up into the browser, I have an old one. Send it, verify, install the big device. IQ, outage IQ stuff. So, hand waving, we did an outage event system. Up here, it deployed it into all the different folders. So we've got analytics, we've got configuration, ingestion, intelligence, processing, storage. Things that I like here is at the very top. It filled in my description. It's very light, but why couldn't I have the LLM do all the documentation for us? I'd never do it. I just build it and run. But over here, it's like, hey, this thing is a live storm response dashboard for analysts. It's got second latency. Thanks for documenting. I could probably add more verbose documents if I had, context of the business. So as I think about configuration, that's that variable library that we were talking about where I was saying, hey, if I'm doing multi-stage deployment from dev, test, prod environments, I can go ahead and fill this out automatically for you. So all the different IDs and GUIDs and objects, I just pre-populated these for you. So you didn't have to do it. And move on to the next part, the next part, the next part. Everything is pre-built. Let's go into ingestion. And copy job, low code backfill, 20 years of SQL history. Some of that inference that we had in the discovery phase. This is why this item exists. It's used to fill in SQL Server. Event stream, real-time ingested box signals, SCADA and mobile field forms. I've never had a workspace that has everything documented. Why couldn't that be done through a system LLM? These are the things that they're great. And at the very end, here is the project that it builds.
So it builds the task flow.
I wish that it did. You had to manually input it. But from the 5 seconds we just sat down, you use our imagination on the utility company. Here's your event house. Here's the event stream you're coming in. Likely that should be back here. And then let's go back up. That feeds into a lake house because I've got a Lambda architecture. So I've got a hot path, I've got a cold path. They also have conversational agents. Why is that so small? So if I wanted to have conversational agents talk to your data, or I have copy job history, again, that should probably be on this side. And then notebook ML for my data scientists. At this table, 5 minutes, we go through, let's say an actual 15, because we want to go in depth. At the very end of that process, you would have a deployment script that would then just run it. Not my example here with the, Python being broken here and versioning, but you would run the script once and you're live and deployed. Of course, for me, this is just the shell. There's nothing in here. The conversation I wanted to have, though, is what's stopping us? If I was to go to ingestion, copy job, what is data ingestion? It's a connection string, a list of tables. If I had that in a YAML file that said, put in your connection string, put in all the tables that you want, or a column, or a SQL statement, or anything else, and then you're just reading that through a deterministic script. I could build out that API call with everything already pre-built for you.
Just loads.
It would just load and be built. Why couldn't we do that? Why couldn't we fully deploy it at the end of the day? The parts that people don't trust is I don't want to put in that connection string in the LLM. I don't either. So if I had that in a file that I could then read with the scripts, then I could have all that built through deterministic processes.
So that I have the follow-up question. So when you set up your workspace, you should have a premium SKU.
Yep.
Where do you store all the credentials for that? With the
Oh, for this one?
Yeah.
In the deployment process here, it's just going to go through and it's going to ask if you're to do user authentication or if a service principal.
Okay.
And then that'll be just through kind of the Azure identity packages. But yeah.
So the Azure identity would be either you or the service principal that needs access to the premium SKU.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so in this example, ideally for the purposes of, I think, like slowing down and not moving so fast, like, hey, let's do this incrementally just because we are going so fast. A consultant or a cloud architect, they would deploy this right there in front of you and say, here's everything. Are you ready? Start putting in your server address, the database name, and this YAML file and all the tables. So like, okay. And then they're like, they're holding on to the table because they're not expecting to be running as fast. But once I know the tables and I know the columns, and I know the semantic model I could build, then I know the report I could build. This is a complete chain. To me, that can be fully automated.
And so once this is done and you have run the deployment script and now so scope creep comes in, with scope creep always comes in.
Oh, always.
Can you go back into it and say, this doesn't get here, a question doing this.
Early, but I'd be very curious to understand because people have seen this presentation a few times now, and their question always been, I don't have this. I want to reverse engineer my existing workspace into this. I'm going to turn my existing missiles to be local, and you're kind of the mix of like, I'm going to have manipulation and throughout. I don't see why we couldn't. That wasn't the current scope of what I had built. But that's where I need help from the community. But is this something that's worth continuing to invest and build on?
Scope, I totally agree with that scope creep part. There's always somebody who's coming and saying, like, this one item or the 1,500 lines don't match, which is why instead of writing like a 400 line list of rules, we have to write 1,200 lines, like you said before.
Yeah,
But for most of it, if we say 90% of the stuff, if it works for you, I'm not gonna worry too much about that 1%.
yeah,
Or 10% of the stuff that's not generating much revenue.
yeah.
Again, that's an executive call.
And I think, especially in your example, like everything will be deployed to the workspace, version control. So you could use like other agentic skills to make this.
But you could then take an AI and revamp it that way.
Absolutely.
So it's just, this is built to do version 2, version 3, version.
Yeah, this is more of the whiteboard. What are we building?
Got
And then you're like, that's what we're building. And then it's direction line. And of course, like if things change, because you're moving so fast, it's okay to start over. Like, hey, let's try something different. It's funny, for the purpose of the recording, I never go to Google. I just want to say that. I'm being everything. But in an ideal world, like I would want Microsoft Fabric to be just a big box like this. What do you want to build today? And I don't want you to have to know the terms. I don't want you to know the API structure or know what it supports. I just want you to say, here's my business problem, what I want to do. Boom. Like that is the ideal state for me. Task flows in their current state, they're just a Visio diagram in the workspace. They don't really do anything. But I would love if they did have that creation engine, like my task flow system, to be like, awesome, here's what we built, here's the deployment, here's all your items, here's everything well documented for you. That to me is, I think, what LLMs can really exceed at. It's just getting people with the hump of the first, there's too much, it's overwhelming. So let me go back to that. I think we're good on the PowerPoint, yes, closing, what stays with the audience repos, not asking people to trust a clever prompt, is asking them to trust a disciplined workflow, a system that starts with the prompt. Exposes every handoff and makes the deployment choice explicit. Yes. So everything that we did goes through code. Again, I would want you to have all of your different projects over here, whether it be departments or if it's consultant. At the very end, you could easily package that up, right click, zip, send it to your customer, send it to another team, kind of across the aisle, whatever it may be. You're just continuing to help them get over that initial hurdle. And then for the purpose of the system, things change. Items go from public preview to GA. This will just be continuously maintained and updated for the community. And then for you and your projects, you're like, well, I think of it as like a spine, right? Like a human spine. Like if you can build around this, like we can all have forward motion. So I've got a lot of different community friends that are starting to tap into these registries. In fact, oh my God, I built my project around this and it's working amazingly. It's like, yes.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's very nice.
But well, I'll pause there. Any other questions here with respect to agent skills, kind of the assistant that is not a wizard? Let me know. I'll pause there. Was this what you were expecting as you came here to see something like this?
I'm so excited to see this.
I got the problem statement in my head. I'm going to
How does this change work?
As the manager who does not have technical capabilities of my staff, this changes what I can do.
Yeah.
As one of the staff, it changes how our work is done too.
About the technical standpoint, I see where the users who are eager to learn but not sure what they want.
Yep.
They go play with this, then come to us. And I look at the code and then, okay, this is what you want. Yeah, a lot of meetings can be avoided, a lot of Teams messages can be avoided with this.
Yeah. I think about like the onboarding, the kickoff meeting. Like,
Yeah.
I'll get in a 60-minute. Like it's around the room for the first 45. And I go, well, what if we just like had like the direction and that kind of all move in? Again, for me, like especially as I think like consulting and all the other spaces, It's not a 6-month project anymore. It's a value-based project. Hey, we can get that thing done for you X amount of days because we've done these before. We know what it'll take. And then especially with like the back and forth, through the system, like I'm using Terminal, you can do this VS Code. Some of my friends that are kind of developing Gits, it'll be just as simple as this. You'll probably see that on the internet here soon. But in all those, like the parts that are not interesting to me have been solved. It's got the lookup, it's got the awareness, it's got the trade-offs. Now it's just, what's the problem? What's the business thing? So that's what I'm just so excited about.
Is that more like farther like use case based for consultants? So like for,
I don't think so.
because
If I was internal, I'd be using this.
well, because I'm trying to kind of like really understand, like, for instance, like how it fundamentally compares to like the way I've actually did build my per diem app was just basically it started as a chat
Yeah,
in the LLM, and I just say there's a few things I knew that I wanted,
yep,
like I explained like I did to you the current Excel process. I knew I want to be a web. Well, I didn't know if I wanted to web app at first. I eventually got there, but I knew that I wanted approval steps in there. I knew I wanted some reporting features. So there's a few things I knew, but there's a lot of features that I found out just through iteration
oh yeah,
and going through the process with the LLM. Like they would ask me questions and they give me options for the different questions that I asked, the answers I provided, and I'm just trying to, because and from at least like I said, I'm relatively new to this.
Oh, this is great.
But I prefer working. Like a lot of the it basically is what you did. You asked some basic questions, but even like some architecture, like structure,
yeah,
I'm not really thinking about that, right away. And as I get deeper and deeper, I learn more about it. But and then like as I go, like there's things that sometimes I originally thought, okay, that have to work a certain way. And as I get deeper work, it's like even LLMs sort of provide suggestions. I'm like, okay, this makes more sense. Let's do it this way. And pivot. So and it's not, because I'm not one of those people who just like, okay, they put in the prompt and just have the agent complete a full app in one go.
oh, I know, that's the promise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to me, like, I don't,
That's just scary.
yeah, to me, I kind of enjoy the process of just iterating on, app and just fine tuning it to something I think works for the problem, fine.
So definitely a lot of the parts, especially if you've got, using them in kind of a current mode is plan mode. That's really where it's going to go through like that deep investigative phase versus the continuously just kind of ask and build out a full plan. In GitHub Copilot, they actually have research. So this is run a deep research investigation using GitHub search and web sources. That's kind of a deeper planning mode. Where we really go out and just spend a lot of time kind of charting through.
Okay.
It'll never tell you the answer you want to hear. And that's what's fun for me of like, if you're building a web app, because I've been doing something fun here, it's like, well, no, I need pagination against this table. And I don't want you to call the entire, select star from table and bring everything back. It's like, as the web app is going through, load 20 rows, load 20 rows. So those are like the small things that you consider.
Yeah.
Because I don't live in app development, it doesn't tell me that.
Yeah.
And that's where like you have to become an app developer
Yeah.
instead of just being a problem solver.
And I sort of relate to that, like I said, this is a web app, but it's meant for mobile use. So like, the first version was like, it looked good on the web app.
Oh yeah.
The mobile, like certain things were a little left off. So they had to adjust, so it still looks good, the web app and then the mobile version. So you couldn't go through that process.
So the thing here I'm kind of showing on screen, Oprah superpowers, one of the GitHub repos, 255,000 stars. That's an insane amount. And an agentic skills framework for software development. If you were to use this as a plugin, kind of the Oprah superpowers, I dropped this on the GitHub page too. But this will just be your entire review system. So he's got all the different skills, receiving code reviews, requesting code reviews, test-driven development, writing plans. So it'll help you actually write like the different kind of development sprints. Everyone is out here sharing, and I think that's such an exciting time. Especially kind of the key point here in my session tonight, like everything I told you to sign is a lie. Tomorrow, you're gonna be like, Alex is an expert, and they'll come out with a new model that changes everything. We're all learning at the same time. Find like the 5 minutes that are worthwhile today and carry this forward to tomorrow, and be willing to like destroy something and build it again, just because we can build so fast now. It's like your example, like, oh my God, I built myself into a corner with the app. All right, but you knew the parts you liked. How do you carry those forward if you're to destroy everything again? No, here's what I actually want. And it's awesome. Because its job is to be verbose. Some of this code out here, I will never read it. It's not built for humans. And I think that that's something we also need to get past too, is like, why would you do it like this? I would never write that Python. I would never write 1,400 monolithic files here. But it likes doing them. I do like weekly audits that go back through some files. There's weird things out here like Ponytail, if you've heard of this. Ponytail GitHub. You've heard of this one yet? It's the guy who is the lady senior dev in your room, and it's wrote the best code that you've ever seen.
Yes.
It's got 83,000 stars. So the Ponytail guy, he takes your 600 lines and he fixes it in 2 lines instead.
Wow.
Says nothing, he writes one line words. So people are just sharing. It's so much fun. Just kind of be a part of the moment. Cool. Well, with that, I will go ahead and end the session. Is there anything else to take us home?
Thank you so much, Alex.
Whirlwind.
Yeah. I'll drop some of these resources out here. Yeah,